Hey Spuddies, PotatoMcWhiskey here, and welcome back to playing Stellaris as the Flesh Flayers. I built a Sanctuary of Repose on my capital world. That's giving me +5 stability. +5 stability is quite nice because it roughly translates into about 3% more resources from jobs. The cool thing is though, I can actually upgrade it to the Pillar of Quietus, which will give it another 5 stability, which is another 3% boost to my entire world's output. So of course, naturally, we will be doing that. And once we have the House of Apoptheosis, we'll be able to have a positive 20 stability on every planet, which is roughly equivalent to a 12% boost to the yields of everything. Now that we have glandular modification, we can actually pick up engineered evolution. That'll give us +3 gene modification points, unlock the clone vat building, and make it easier to modify our species. Here's an event that I really like. Many of the bone inhabitants on Grunier Prime have turned to genetic modification to help them cope with the planet's hostile environment. And they are now the trans bone, with the special tomb world preference and the necrophage trait with the self-modified trait. Members of this offshoot species have spontaneously altered their genetic makeup to give themselves an advantage. I think I'm going to use this template as the sort of baseline that I build off of. Tomb World Habitability is very useful because it can be used on basically every planet. So I'm going to switch these guys to have extremely adaptable as a trait. They'll still be called Trans Bone, but we'll create that template and we're going to apply that trait to my entire empire. It's going to take a long time to do. Roughly speaking, it's going to take about 10 years, but I think that's going to be worth it. The ability to have extremely adaptable pops who have 80% base habitability across an entire empire is going to be massive for me. I'm going to claim a few more systems from the Uxvants. It'll cost me 300 influence, but I think that's worthwhile considering it'll give me something to actually take in the war. Especially Magic, taking this planet will be nice. I need to bring over my transport vehicles though, so that I can actually invade it, because I don't plan to raid this planet. It already has barely any population, so instead I'm going to go for the juicier core planets that need to be invaded. The important thing to note though is that the Sidmantius regime is in a defensive pact with the Uxvant, so I'm not going to be fighting just one empire. I'm actually going to be fighting 3 because the Vesari Confederacy are a vassal state to the Sidmatus regime. It's not going to stop me though, because I'm basically the most powerful military power in the galaxy. Here is a very nice bonus. Market analysis algorithms. That's going to boost the output of all of my artisans by 10%, which is equivalent to getting 30 extra consumer goods per month. And considering I have a little bit of a deficit at the moment, it's quite a struggle. I haven't been giving you guys updates on every single tech because I'm researching a tech in every category roughly every year. The sheer amount of clips that would be required to keep up with this tech, but we're picking up a lot of tech. We're extremely far ahead. We're invading Tassu Brood. It should be a pretty quick war on that front, because we do plan to take this one in the peace deal. I'm going to have this northern fleet kind of play around the north side of the galaxy, or at least the north side of this war, because all of the enemy reinforcements should come through this choke point here, and I want to be ready for them. Let's start raiding with this secondary planet for some population. I appear to have underestimated my enemies because they have used a wormhole to actually get deep inside my territory, and I don't really have a fast way to get over there. I pretty much have to run all the way around my empire to get there. I probably should have learned how wormhole travel works myself. Interstellar Franchising is the last tradition in the prosperity tree, which will give my city districts an extra clerk job. Clerk jobs basically produce trade value and amenities, so they're not the most amazing jobs, but they're better than no job. The really nice thing about finishing prosperity gives all of our planets 1 merchant job per 50 population. And we have access to another Ascension perk, and I think I like the idea of going for Evolutionary Mastery here. Probably should have waited on modifying my species to pick this up, but we now get access to the genetic resequencing technology. Evolutionary Mastery. Gone are the days when the survival of our species was at the mercy of chance, when a bone's fate was decided on the whims of nature in the genetic lottery. The engineers of our time worked not in steel and concrete, but in the very building blocks of life itself. With advanced gene modification, we will secure the future of our nation. There's only 5 population left on Viri's haunt, so I'm sending my battle fleet over to their capital where there's 54 juicy pops ready to be abducted. It's not quite wormhole travel, but I am going to go ahead and unlock gateway travel. A representative from the transbone communities on Grunir Prime have traveled to Azan's Crucible to voice the grievances of his people. According to him, transbones are subjected to widespread discrimination by the bone authorities on his homeworld, and he's demanding that we take immediate action to improve the situation. It's kind of worrying, especially since I've already committed to converting my entire population into the transbone species. Heavy fighting has been reported from the rural areas of Grunir Prime. There are several clashes between transbone and bone irregulars. The transbones appear to have won the day, and the guerrillas have burnt down many settlements. Civilian casualties are high. Am I about to enter into a civil war based on, like, genetic superiority? Oh god. Look at all these people getting abducted. Oh my goodness. I'm nearly up to 700 population, and it just keeps climbing every other month. Let's unlock adaptability. That's going to make our pops use 10% less housing, which means we don't need to build quite as many city districts to house all of our people. What I really want, though, is that plus 10% habitability. That's going to make my people much happier and much more productive. We've completely depopulated Starnut. There's only 4 left. I think we've got to pull this fleet off and maybe send them to go clean up some of these occupations. This is what I love about this whole sort of barbarian raider slaver playstyle, is you don't actually have to like grow your population. You can just run around and steal everyone else's pops. Oh, we have completed the modification of the transbone species. Now all 359 of my population are transbones, who have the very nice ability of Tomb World Preference alongside Extremely Adaptive, which means if I click on pretty much any of my planets and check out the habitability of my dudes, it's at 80%, which is pretty crazy. Especially so for planets like Krakoon Prime, which is an ocean world, which used to be really terrible for my population. Now we only have a very small debuff in habitability for upkeep and production. Lovely, we have activated gateway travel. I think before we can actually go through the gateways, though, we do need to get 2 more L-Gate insights. The good news is I can use my minor artifacts to pick up another one of those, and then I just need 1, and we can find out what's behind the L-Gates. I'm pretty sure there's like a few different outcomes, and only like one of them is like extremely bad. Or is it that one of them is extremely good? Maybe we'll find out. Genetic resequencing gives us access to advanced traits and some special benefits. We also have the ability to get Gene Warrior Army, which is a lot more expensive than a basic one, but it has some really powerful stats. I think we'll grab genetic resequencing first, because I kind of want to see what kind of gene modding can I do. Plus 10% habitability should see my economy jump significantly. I think right now I'm about 300, 500, 100, 150, and 50. So if we just let a month tick over, we should see these numbers jump pretty significantly. 350, 550, 150, 250. Those are all pretty nice increases thanks to the habitability increase. Their capital world is now completely depopulated, down from like 50 to 60 pops to just 6. I'm not really sure there's a whole lot the AI can do against me now. I'm pretty much unstoppable with like the sheer amount of pops I have. I'm pretty sure at the start of this war, I had 700 population, and now I have nearly 800. They appear to have landed some troops on one of my planets. I don't know if we're going to be able to hold this off. So before that invasion goes off, I'm going to go ahead and settle the status quo and send that offer to finish this war, grab myself a bit of territory, and prevent that planet from being properly invaded. I'm also going to go ahead and get myself a starport in here on these wormhole locations, because it seems like that's where they're going to come in. Of course, my planetary economies are now in shambles after that war when I just expanded my economy by 100 population. And that means I have to go through each and every single planet and look at their stats. Like this planet here, Agster, has a decent amount of crime. We could probably use an enforcer den to prevent that crime. We definitely also want a Sanctuary of Repose for that extra stability. In response to the violent confrontations between transbone inhabitants on Grunir Prime. Okay, so now there's like, what? The transbones have taken the genetic modifications one step further. They're now stronger and faster, while their bodies can take punishment that would kill normal transbones. Just 2 unarmed transbones were killed at least a dozen members of the transbone militia in a recent incident. Maybe looking at a dangerous escalation. So the transbone population on Grunir Prime gained the strong trait. This is kind of spooky actually, because they seem to be rapidly evolving. They have rapid breeders, they have docile, They have strong, enduring, like they have all of these amazing traits. And my regular old transbone here are not looking too hot in comparison. I'm starting to get worried about like these gene mod fascists that have like popped up on Grunir. I don't really know what to do other than to wait for the events to appear. Morphogenetic Field Mastery unlocks xenomorph armies. Ravenous hordes of bioengineered horrors made of little more than teeth, claws, and an instinctive urge to kill. A cadre of scientists monitor and supervise the raging swarms as best they can from hardened bunkers behind the front. I love the idea of having xenomorph armies. Let's go. Let's build a habitat in our capital system just for fun. Space Storm Attack arrives. Massive subspace disturbances have erupted in systems across the galaxy. Early reports indicate that nearly 50% of the systems in the galaxy have been affected by this unprecedented phenomenon, which appears to be a byproduct of thousands of years of heavy hyperspace travel by civilizations both past and present. Scientists are confident that this galactic storm will dissipate by itself within a period of 5 to 10 years. Until that happens, the storm will play havoc with sublight engines, shield generators, and sensor systems in those star systems affected by it. The galactic community has officially named this storm TAC and issued a general travel advisory. Interesting. That's an event I've never seen before. My empire has become kind of absurdly powerful. I have like insane surpluses in basically every resource except for alloys, which I'm currently in the process of converting some worlds over to forge worlds. If we take a moment to actually look through my worlds here, look at the planetary production. It's insane. I've basically maxed out infrastructure. There's a few kind of useless buildings that I'm still in the process of replacing, and I also need to get stuff like research institutes on a couple of my research worlds and then replace these alloy foundries with tech facilities and stuff like that. But I've more or less spent a bunch of my time just going through and specializing each type of world towards a singular basic resource output, whether it's food, minerals, or energy, and then a single sort of tier 2 resource, whether that's civilian goods, alloys, or a tier 3 resource like unity or research. I've also managed for the first time in the game since pretty much like the first 30 minutes brought my empire sprawl under control. I am now no longer suffering penalties to my unity or my research or anything else like that. And that's off the back of planets like this, Agster, which have 30 bureaucrats on them, all producing a ridiculous amount of administrative capacity because it is specialized as a bureaucrat center. I'm also constantly having to like sell off my resources as I max out of them. I think I've sold like 40,000 resources in the last few minutes here, just trying to bring them below a reasonable level. I like look at the amount of volatile motes I have. I could sell them off for days and still be totally fine. Finally have access to battleships. I actually unlocked these a while ago and then completely forgot to build them. I do usually like to make carriers when I'm building battleships, but I think it'd be more fun if I go for a sort of artillery broadside style ship whose sole existence is to completely wipe out my enemies. Now, if I auto-complete it, they use these large particle or plasma accelerators in the large slots, which I'm not so sure that I like. They have a hard time breaking through shields, but they do a lot of armor and hull damage, so I guess I'll accept them for now. But this is the ship right here. It is a max size artillery, artillery bow here. Let's go full artillery. Yeah, it's a maximum size artillery battleship with a line battleship command thing. I might even set this to artillery because there's no need for any of them. I don't have any small guns on this, so I want them to sit pretty far back. But we've got maxed out thrusters, hyperdrives, antimatter reactors, really good shields. Not so great armor in all due honesty, but the afterburners are also super important for this thing because it is slow and your fleets move at the speed of the slowest ship, so I always put afterburners on my battleships. There's no need to put regenerative hull tissue. I mean, I guess you could maybe put one in, but this thing is going to take so long to repair that it doesn't matter. Let's recruit some xenomorph armies, because if you compare them to the regular armies, they do like 5 times more morale damage, 500% more collateral damage. They have twice as much health, 0 morale, and 4 to 5 are at least 4 times more damage. They're insane, dude. So I'm going to get 3 of those recruiting away. Should be enough to pretty much take out any planet. And speaking of war, let's get war declared, because it's been too long that I haven't been at war with the Yaston hegemony, and they have population out there that is ripe for the pickings. Let's go ahead and micromanage our fleets to clear out all enemy resistance. I'll bring this fleet up to docile to get that under occupation. I'm probably not going to bother raiding that much on this planet because I actually claimed that planet. I'm going to take it over myself. Their capital is still heavily depopulated, so I might go ahead and look for somewhere like Renfield that has 32 pops on it to go raid that instead. We have completed our very first habitat, and let's go ahead and colonize it, because when you actually build the habitat, it doesn't have any people on it. Except maybe they're really, really good for things like consuming like surplus resources, and since we have just like an absurd amount of surplus in a lot of areas, it's just a great way to actually turn our population, turn a profit using our population by converting things. Actually, I'm going to build another habitat. I'm going to get one right here as well. But yeah, like I was saying, habitats are just a great way for you to convert a surplus of like a particular resource into a different surplus. So like it might turn a surplus of minerals into more alloys, for example, because it just gives you more room to build certain buildings. They don't extract raw resources themselves, so that is something you have to keep in mind. They are strictly spenders, and your economy needs to be able to bear that burden. Survival of the fittest is the final tradition in the adaptability tree, which gives me another ascension perk, and then I only have domination to finish, and because I just earned so much unity, it's not going to be long before I completely fill out all of the traditions in the game, which kind of remind me of the Civ 5 social policies, which is why I'm such a big fan of them. I just really like this sort of way of navigating your way through like a little bonus tech tree and getting different perks and different orders and finding the ones that you really like. In terms of what the Ascension perk we can pick is, there's a few that we could get that are pretty interesting. Voidborn is really cool because it allows our habitats to have 2 extra building slots, and we can get habitat expansion as well as advanced space habitation. So there's some really cool habitability stuff we can do down there because we already have like the genetic tree filled out. We could also go for the Arcology project, which allows us to essentially convert an entire planet into a giant city. I think I'll hold out on my choice because I kind of like the idea of maybe going for galactic wonders so we can build ring worlds and matter decompressors and Dyson spheres. Those are all really fun to build too. But yeah, I'm kind of at a point now where I've basically won the game and I'm not really sure what to do because I'm limited in expansion by my influence because claiming a system, right? If I come over here, each one of these systems cost me 35 influence to claim, but that's just for the ones that are like right adjacent to my borders. If I want to claim stuff that's not adjacent to my borders, I start paying more and more. Like if I wanted to put a claim all the way over here, let's say on his capital, that would cost me 100 influence. So it's just like, I don't know how else to expand my empire except just like to take little nibbles out of every other player and slowly push my borders across the galaxy. So yeah, I kind of feel like I've backed myself into a corner where I'm like, I'm so powerful that I'm unstoppable because I have been just churning through technologies. I think I've researched all of these in the last like 5 minutes. It's that quick. Ooh, I like the idea of getting advanced habitats. Let's grab that. Maybe we can upgrade our habitats to something more interesting. I've also just been kind of like completely ignoring my planets. I have so many of them now that there's no need to do anything. I just have so much pop that I can kind of ignore what's going on my planets. And I'll like check in on them in a couple of years when they really need help. But for now, they don't need my attention. They're fine. We're going to go ahead and unlock domination for our final tradition. And that one gives you some governor level caps. Some capital buildings give extra housing. The Privy Council gives ruler cap level, as well as Judgment Corps reduces crime from enforcers, and the workers get extra output with extended shifts as an edict. And the final one is you get +1 influence, which is dead handy for claiming systems. Oh, we have found our very first dangerous technology, sapient combat simulations. Yoink! So I researched that technology for upgrading habitats, but I have no idea how to actually use it. Oh, here it is. Let's see. Upgrade habitat. It becomes an advanced habitat, which gets an extra 2 size, but the number of district slots for new districts has to be 0. Well, alright then, we'll build some housing, and we'll get this upgrading pretty soon. We'll also colonize my brand new habitat. I wonder, is there any more room in my capital area? Any more room? I don't think so. Tell you what we'll do. I'm going to go ahead and disband this mining station and build a habitat where it used to be. Victory against the Yaston hegemony. We're now officially over 1,000 population. And my empire doesn't look like it's much bigger. But like if you go through these worlds, man, it's just my empire has actually become what I would call unmanageable. It became too big. This is too many planets for one man to manage. I think I have, what is it? Let me have a look here at my thing here. I have 25 planets, 1,000 population, 264 districts, and a total of 97 systems. I own a quarter of the galaxy. And the thing about Stellaris is, it's one of those games where there is no win condition. So I've kind of won, quote unquote, because I can't be stopped. It's now officially my plaything. I can do whatever I like. I could take over the entire galaxy. And there's nothing anyone can do about it. And I could continue to just pump out habitats across the galaxy. But I'm going to call that the end of this series. A little bit shorter of an episode, I know. But I hope you guys enjoyed this little bit of a look at Stellaris. I don't know if you guys really understand the game. Maybe I'll have to do another series where I explain things a little bit more. But I hope you got an idea of like the story and idea that I had going here. That I was playing like a race of undead beings that kind of crusaded their way across the galaxy in order to try and convert everyone to the true sort of, race of the bones. And I think we did a pretty good job of that. If we go to the species map mode and organize by size, my species is by far the largest in the galaxy with over, I want to say 600-700 members. And the next biggest one is 250. So I'm almost like 3 times the size of the next biggest species, which is pretty damn impressive. But yeah, I'm going to call that the end of the episode. I love you all very, very much. I hope you guys enjoyed this series, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.